way first, just give me ideas. And we know there's a significant amount of uh, public uh, uh, exp- uh, 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 I don't know, controversy, if you want to call it that, around your tenure coming out at this stage. Just give me an idea of what you think there are your chances right now, given the state of it.
Well, I am a member of parliament, and with being a member of parliament, what is expected of a member of parliament, duties, functions, I think I have done a good job. I don't want to pat myself on my own shoulder, but I gauge the responses that I get from constituents. And so I have tried to do my work inside the parliament, in the chambers of the parliament, and I have attempted to do the work in the communities to lobby for matters that, interests that they would like me to get involved in. And I have tried my best. What I have done is, like, for example, tonight, you will see the people who are with me, right? Mr. Richard Ramke soon. He is the president manager of Central Sports Cricket Club. We, 3 consecutive years, we held a cricket camp because we wanted to invest in the youths. The first year we started off, we had 250, right? That was our initiative that we decided we will partner, we'll put on. We did not, we thought we would do it for Chaguanas West, we couldn't contain it. So we said, you know what, we will have it countrywide. The second year, 200 plus, a little less than 250. This year, sorry, 2024, last year, we had 350 kids. So I asked him to come along because I thought that, look, if these are matters which the party leadership is interested in, I also have plans and initiatives that I could roll out in the constituency of Chaguanas West, that, these people are persons who will support me. I have other persons, Edward Moody, right? He's a known activist when it comes to, riverbanks, riverine conditions, flooding. He is here. He has been helping me in terms of treating and lobbying for the Caroni River Bank. We have successfully managed to get the government to act, and I don't chastise the government unnecessarily. I think I should be considered as one of the more measured persons when it comes to debating in the parliament. I have managed to get the cooperation of the Minister of Works and Transport and local government. And, Mr. Moody helps me. We actually have a project which is carded. We could not have covered it so far, but we want to roll it out. It concerns the Caroni River Bank to ensure that we could mitigate flooding as much as possible. So that is another project. Kesho Ganpat, a known activist in Chaguanas West. You can't get more UNC than Kesho Ganpat, right? He's my person who is all over. Early in the morning, he will go to meet constituents on the way to the office. Even during office hours, he gets a call, he will probably most times be the first responder. And afterwards, after work, they go to meet persons. Chanka Ramtahal, social welfare. I mean, these are persons, I'm calling it out for a reason. He is someone, a former social welfare officer, ran social welfare department, and he is basically full-time in the constituency office of Chaguanas West, not just for Chaguanas West residents, constituents, but for anybody who comes. So these are initiatives that we feel we have to invest in, right? Imam Rashid Karim, a known activist. You can't get more UNC than this man. And he is one who has been helping with the elderly, with, the Muslim community, the Islamic community. So it's a wide reach. Brother Zaid is here as well. I have brought these persons because this is what I believe in. I believe in working for the community. I believe in working for constituents. And most and foremost, I believe in working towards building Trinidad and Tobago. I have done that. I have done that. I can't speak for other people. I can speak for myself. If anybody has stood on the side of people of Trinidad and Tobago, regardless of race, regardless of anything to do with class, anything that you want to associate that would somehow, gender, anything that would somehow put them in any category of their own, I have seen beyond all of that. And I have represented Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Right? So Ambali, what do you think of your chances of being selected for Sugar?
Well, what I have just said, if the party is interested in having people like myself, I stand good chances.
Now, I want to challenge the question a little bit, right?
Yes.
Now, given what you just said, if it were up to these people, there would be no contact. But until you are actually selected as a candidate, it is not necessarily up to the people, it is up to the party,
Yes.
if I'm correct. All right. Now, again, the relationship that you have with the UNC right now, where people may not agree with your strategy of doing people first. How do you think that affects what you say and what they would hear inside you?
Well, if people don't agree with my strategy of people first, we have problems. We're going to have problems. That's the only thing I know. When I signed up, nobody told me that it was anything other than putting the people first. All right? So I intend to put people first at all points in time, right? Whether it's MP, whether it's anything, I will put the people first at all times. If it is another criteria, another threshold, we're in for some problems.
Right. So let's talk about people. Chaguanas West. What does Chaguanas West need?
Chaguanas West needs some infrastructural work. I'm not just simply referring to roads and drains. We do need that. There are some roads, some road networks. For example, you have Bokal Road, Ajoda Road, Warren Road, Ramlal Trace, Alligator Trace. You have other areas, but those roads, those are in the central part of the constituency, they are very badly off, right? You have a fear that if you drive in these roads, you may not come out on the next side. So that's how bad they are. So those are the areas, but I'm going beyond just the roads and the drains. You also have, like, as I said, the Caroni River. That Caroni River bank, some works have been done, but it requires much more work to be done, right? And that is where I spoke about Edward Moody and stuff. We have things that we can do. So that is infrastructural work, because every year you're getting more extreme weather patterns and we really need to mitigate this flooding. Because I am the one who, in the middle of the night, these men will tell you, I don't have to say it, we are on the river banks 2 o'clock in the morning, right? When the river is in spate, and we are there, we do videos to show, look, this is what is going on, because you have a fear that it will burst the river banks, and in some cases, the banks have been severely eroded. Those are things we want to get on top of. So you have infrastructural works. We need to treat, and this is a national issue, it's not limited to Chaguanas West, but Chaguanas West has been targeted in more so in terms of extortion crimes. That is something that I have spoken out about, so much so that we had somebody come to the office and say, MP, don't you know that certain people making a living, and why are you interfering with the vendors in a particular area? That was transmitted to the police. It was transmitted to one of the media houses. It prompted a visit from the police to certain areas and stuff. I have never shunned away from those things, but it shows just how deep that issue of extortion runs, and particularly central businesses. So that is another area, another issue I want to deal with. So we have infrastructure, you have those issues, social matters, which is like the crime. And we also have things like, businesses, the economy as a whole, central businesses and the economy of Chaguanas West. It is something that we have to bear in mind. I have been lobbying as much as I can, working together with the business chamber, the businesses. I have been trying to see what I could do, make representation on their behalf. Of course, their representation or their lobbying interests are slightly different from the people who really selling on the side of the street and those who are professionals but don't have the infrastructure around them. So there are a lot of things, and this is why I feel that we have to start somewhere and we have to work towards building Chaguanas West. Is something I have initiatives in all areas that I have seen people reach out for the most, and I think that this team that I have, this is why they are here, because we can actually present how we think we can move forward in the next few years, as the case may be. It can't be solved overnight, but we have been doing our work and trying to get on top of it.
MP?
When you had the press conference last year,
Mm-hmm.
you had spoken about the leadership of the
Yes.
party, and you had said that the party will not win a general election if Namoko Sabisasa was at the prime, right? Now, but you've come here to screen for the seat, right? When maybe you would have had the option to withdraw the nomination, right?
Yes.
Why is it that you are here today now?
Because I'm interested in serving the constituency of Chaguanas West. I'm interested in serving people, and I will not turn my back on them. So I intend to do as much as I can. This is the forum. If I don't use this avenue, then what else is there? I will have to use other avenues, which I intend to do. if I am refused. But I'm saying that for now,
Everybody now, let's go. Come on, come on. Hey. Whoa, oh, whoa, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoa, oh, whoa, oh, yeah, yeah. It's time to make a difference. It's time to turn that page. We got to do the right things if we want brighter days. Cause things ain't getting easy and the road ahead is tough. It's up to you and I to make the madness stop. Every day the things getting harder, and every day the things getting rough, and every day they hike the food prices and they implementing more tax. For the sake of our twin nation and the youth of the next generation, let's stand united, show we're not divided. Let's show them now and send them a message now.
Show them that we're the voice of hope.
Send them a message now.
Show them that our country ain't no joke.
Send them a message now.
Show them that we're the ones who care.
Send them a message now.
Oh, 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 yeah, yeah.
Everybody now. Whoa, oh, whoa, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoa, oh, whoa, oh, yeah, yeah.
From a distance, look at the picture. Tell me what you see. An abstract of destruction to destroy you and me. We got to do the right thing. We got to make that move. Cause if we don't act fast on this, we're the ones who lose.
Every day the things getting next generation. Let's stand united, show we're not divided. Let's show them now and send them a message now.
Show them that we are the voice of hope.
Send them a message now.
Show them that our country ain't no joke.
Send them a message now.
Show them that we are the ones who care.
Send them a message now.
Oh, 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 yeah, yeah.
Do you know that in 2016, 66 liters of diesel cost $100? Today, under the PNM, you get 20 liters of diesel for $100. The diesel you paid $100 for under the UNC now costs $327 under the PNM, which directly affects the cost of food, transport, and services. Guess who I'm voting for next time?
Welcome to the United National Congress's Pavement Report. We take this opportunity to thank you for coming out and for all your support. Now, please stand for the national anthem and remain standing for the prayer. Thank you.
Forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare, side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea. This our native land, we pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Almighty God, most beneficial and merciful, Creator of the universe and embodiment of divine wisdom and light, we come before you with thanksgiving and praise. May your will be done in our nation as it is in the heavens. Please bless our political leader, party officials, activists, and all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Give us the grace to always see good, be good, and do good, and the courage to serve the people. Protect us as we stand against injustice and iniquity, and inspire our endeavors to find the right solutions to the problems that are affecting our fellow citizens. Grant that we may always work together with humility and respect for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of our country.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I see Dr. David Lee is in the midst. All right, so I seen some councillors. Councillor Vanessa Kusi. We have Alderman Anil Kamal, yes, Anil Kamal. We have Councillor Gangaram Gopal Kala, Councillor Alan Taxi Sipasad. We're right opposite Councillor Taxi. I see Councillor Ravi Puran Maraj. That's all. Ah, boy, we love you, we love you, we love you. We see Councillor Dubraj Prasad. I think I see Councillor Ranchan Rajbal Maraj. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the very, very new electoral district, actually, of Couva West Roystonia. And tonight, we can't go without hearing from our very own councillor, the very first councillor of Couva West Roystonia. Please help me welcome the very powerful, the very, very strong, please welcome Councillor Vanessa Kusi.
Good night, everyone. Couva North, let me hear your voices. The voices of our UNC family. Special good night to our leader, Ms. Kamala Prasad Visesa, and the best Prime Minister our country have ever seen. Couva West Roystonia. I would like to acknowledge MP David Lee, MP Ravi Ratiram, Rudnat Inder Singh, Dr. Rashid Sicharan, Vice Chairman Henry Wong, my Chairman Ryan Rampasad, councillors and aldermen. Tonight I would like to have your attention. I sent myself approximately 3 years back. I would like the entire world to know, yes, Trinidad and Tobago. Tobago is looking on because I have a lot of followers and supporters there. My story to tell is a true one. I would live with this for the rest of my life, and I will try my best to get justice for the 5 divers. On February 2022, on the 25th of February 2022, I woke up about 5 a.m. to cook for my husband. Every time I have to say this story, my pause raiser. Rishi Ryan Nagasa, my husband. I cooked normal as I did every day. I packed his bag and he left for work. I heard him leave for work, and then I heard his footsteps running up the stairs to kiss our baby son goodbye. He told me, he said, "Gail, don't cook lunch earlier. I cook lunch when I come home after 2. He'll cook lunch hot for me to eat when I come home." So I saw about 3 o'clock. He didn't reach, no phone call. I went outside to play with my son, baby Nashik. I saw my cousins them at the roadside. They were whispering. One of them walk up to me and tell me, "Venny, you have a message for you." I said, "What is the message, boy?" He saw a fisherman out at sea, said to call him immediately. So I did as I was told. I called him because I find the message was strange. His message to me was, "Venny, I don't know how to tell you this, Gail, but Hannah, your husband died. We out at sea looking for bodies." He started calling all the names. I just turned cold. I couldn't hold the phone. I rested down. I asked him how he know this. He said his friends, the Coast Guard, now called him and told him this. I held my baby. I ran to my bedroom and I started crying. I hold him and I prayed to God and asking God, "Please do not let this be happening to me," especially Ryan. He's such a faithful one. He works so hard. During this time, I never get any calls from LMCS, neither Paria. At the same time, about 2 minutes after, my uncle called, my Uncle Alan. He calls almost every day to look up to see how we going and so forth. When he called, he heard my voice. He said, "Mama, what happened?" I just told him, "Had an accident at Paria." He hung up, and as soon as he hung up, my house was filled with all my families. Everyone came rushing to my home. They heard the screams of my voice. It echoed throughout the street. We reached at Paria. We asked the security if they had any accident there. They said no, they never heard of any accident. My uncle asked them if any ambulance came in the compound. They said no, they saw none. About 5 minutes after, we keep asking workers who was going in and out. They didn't want to talk to any of us because apparently they were told by Paria officials, "Do not speak with anyone." One person came forward, one worker from Paria. He said, "Gail, let me tell you something, Yes, it had an accident, but the 5 of them alive, they're in the pipeline still. We are trying our best to get divers to help them." I felt sort of relieved. 1 minute after, we saw an ambulance coming out of the same very compound, Paria. My Uncle Alan stopped the ambulance and asked them, "You all take out any divers from inside the pipeline?" They then told him, "Yes, we did. It was Christopher Budram. He's at San Fernando Hospital." With rage, he went by the security booth. He told them he was demanding for numbers, for numbers to call Paria officials. They said they have none to give us. Darkness came. We were left at the car park without a word from Paria. We asked them for a little extension to plug one in their boot. They told they cannot give us any, so we were left in darkness. By this time, the word was out. So we was getting people from all around the country visiting us. All the divers family, most of them who live surrounding areas, they did came. Yusuf family, they live far, Sandy Grande, so they took a little while and they came after. We waited at night through day. Saturday 25th, we were told to meet in the staff club across the road from Paria car park. We were told by Mustaq Mohammed, Colin Piper, George Michael, George Newman George, Michael Wee, Catherine Balkisoon, and Stuart Young to address us. Stuart Young, we did not know you was a diver. What you doing in that meeting? If we know you was a diver, we the wives of the divers would have put a tank and send you in the pipeline to take off our own husband. The information we get from Stuart Young, it makes no sense. All he was talking about is he had a 24-hour flight, and here was hurting him. We asked him, what about the divers in the pipeline? How they are feeling? They are broken. He didn't want to say anything. He didn't know anything. He didn't know the depths of the water. He didn't know where the pipeline was, but he came to talk. This is the only person our Prime Minister could have sent to address the divers family, the Prime Minister of this country. And you have to always remember, Paria is a state-owned company, owned by the government. This accident happened, if this accident had happened under the opposition of my UNC family, Ms. Kamala Prasad Bissessa, she would have shut down that Paria refinery and make sure they have qualified divers to help support us. But under this Prime Minister, I often hear him saying, in fact, who live, live, and who dead, dead. They at Paria waited and did nothing to help the divers. In fact, they sealed the only way out. For any one of the divers to come out, they sealed the only way out. So what do you call that? Murder. The diver's wife and children were crying outside, and Paria and this government did nothing to save them. Stuart Young, we are families of the divers, and how you all address this matter, you bring armed men, you bring police, right? You bring them in front the gates of Paria with guns pointing at the families. Is this the way to treat people of your country? Piper and Mustaq were calling me, quarreling with me to leave the compound. And I told them, no, I am not leaving. I'm leaving here when I get my husband. And he have to come out from that pipeline. They call and they keep quarreling with me to go home. I told them, no, I'm staying right here. Someone came about 2 minutes after, and they said they have some news to give to me. I look at them. They said, I'm giving you the good news. We slightly hearing a slight pound on the pipeline. I said, well, that had to be my husband. He said, yes. I look at him with tears rolling down my eyes. He said, you know the bad news is, right? I said, yes, I know. They're not going to take him out. Well, alive. They took out 3 days before they found my husband. 3 days, they took out 3 bodies from the same pipeline. Swollen, you couldn't make out anybody. And the day they chose to flush out my husband, and when they gave me that phone call, 12:38 a.m. in the morning, that was 7 days after, on the 3rd of March, they called to tell me they found my husband. Go see him, 6:30 in the morning. I went to view him. When I went to view my husband, you would have swear he was sleeping in her. He wasn't swollen, nowhere broken, nothing happened to this man. He looked like somebody take a bucket of water and dash it on him. So I couldn't move. The people there were asking me, they said, Gil, I don't know what to tell you, but they killed this man. This man tried to live, he fight to live. And these people are all nasty. I said, you had to tell me them nasty. This situation at Paria is very frustrating for all the families, and we need justice for the 5 divers. I'm standing here tonight with my UNC family, the only one who stood at my side. When this tragedy happened, the only one I saw at the compound was my MPs. All my MPs, I didn't know all who was MPs before, but I know each and every one of them now. I would always remember, Councillor Nadia, I do not know you then, but I know you now. You are my very own sister who sits right beside me at council, and I would never forget every single thing you did for me. MP Ravi, I have so much to say, and I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Ender Singh, MP, thank you so much for all what you have done and given to me. They make sure my house was not out of food. They made sure they tried to make us happy in every way they could, in that simple way. So these are things I would always live and never forget of the goodness that they had given to me. General election is approaching, and we are so fed up of the government. We are fed up of this PNM government. And I want to ask Mr. Keith Christopher Rowley a question. You created this seat, Couva West Roystonia, right? And because I won the seat, you choose to suffer the people of Couva West Roystonia, right? I would like you and Mr. Stuart Young to come and walk with me in Couva West Roystonia and see the roads and drains. Come and walk in Perseverance, Perth Avenue, Lisa's Garden, Capelday Block. In my area, you know very well the area you wanted to win. I want you to come and walk in my area and see the condition of the place. I want to say one thing again before I leave. This raise you give yourself. If I had gotten half of this raise for this Christmas, you wouldn't believe how much families I could have made happy. I took one of my salary for this Christmas because we didn't get much hampers to give out, or we didn't get much food cards to give out. Whatever we got from our MPs, we're very grateful. I did what I had to do, and a lot of PNM people came at my home. And I did try to help whatever I had home, and they were content and happy when they left my home. And I'm very proud to say, and I wear this color yellow, and I'm proud to say I'm a member of the UNC family. My husband is still here with me. And I just want to say again, I want to call out their names. Justice for the Paria 5 divers, Kazim Ali Jr., Yusuf Henry, Fazil Kurban, and my husband, Rishi Ryan Nagasa. And I stand before you here today in the platform. And I would like you to vote for Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the Rising Sun. It's the only way out of this deplorable state we are living in our country. Thank you.
Good night, UNC family. You would have heard the hurt and the passion in my councillor colleague voice. I want you all to remember, Trinidad and Tobago, we must never support and condone the anointed Stuart Young. We have to vote them out, and always remember, we 5 divers suffering in that fight. Always remember, you're voting out the PNM. Stuart Young must go. We don't want Stuart Young. Tonight, I want to welcome the MP, Dr. Richard Sicharan. Dr. Richard Sicharan is the MP for Caroni East. He has played an instrumental role in our party's medical clinic helping hundreds of patients throughout Trinidad. Dr. Sicharan has supported the work of our party, National Youth Arm, since 2013 and served in the position in the Caroni East Constituency Executive before rising to become the Member of Parliament. He is a qualified general dental surgeon with postgraduate certificates in dental implant in 2005, his Bachelor of Law degree in 2020, and has recently completed his legal practice certificate. Dr. Sicharan is the owner and principal dental surgeon, Dental Plus Limited. Couva North, let's welcome Dr. Richard Sicharan.
Thank you very much, everyone. And let's give a round of applause for the strength and courage of Councillor Vanessa Kusi. My friends, my political leader, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, Senior Counsel, in a short few months will return as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And as in the United States, we too will begin our age of prosperity. Members of Parliament, senators, local government representatives, activists, foot soldiers, those viewing at home and abroad, and to the hundreds gathered here at Carly Bay Road, welcome to the Pavement Report opposite Councillor Taxi Sipasad in the constituency of Couva North. Tonight, I would like to thank MP, my great friend Ravi Ratiram, for his hospitality tonight. And please excuse me if my voice sounds a little strange. I'm recovering from a very severe chest infection. But nothing would have stopped me from attending tonight to support my brother Ravi Ratiram. My friends, as we continue our discussions on health, I'd like to remind you that chaos reigns across all ministries in Trinidad and Tobago, and none more so than in the Ministry of Health. One recent headline described our health sector as horrors in healthcare. And it's not the UNC saying so. You know, they like to say it's only the UNC like to complain. It's patients, it's nurses, it's doctors. We have a doctor in the audience here tonight. It's pharmacists, it's the journalists, and we also have it recorded in parliamentary reports. And my friends, after the billions being spent in health, we have no idea where the money is going. Hospitals are lacking critical drugs. Patients are having to wait years upon years to get vital surgeries. And the public healthcare sector is broken. So tonight, I'd just like to raise a few quick points. Firstly, I'd like to speak about Rowley's COVID delusions, Dialsing's consistent incompetence, cancer care in Trinidad and Tobago as well as CEDAP, and the abuse of the Children's Life Fund under the PNM. And my friends, firstly to begin, I'd like to fully endorse my leader's position on the US political climate. And I'd like to use this opportunity to, on behalf of the constituency of Caronies, to congratulate President Donald J. Trump on his inauguration. My friends, both the US and here in Trinidad and Tobago, we are countries in chaos. And we face many of the similar problems, be it the economy, be it crime, be it healthcare, be it illegal immigration. And Kamla Prasad Bisesa has the team, and she will fix it. And one of the first executive orders made by Donald Trump on his first day in office was the withdrawal of the United States from the World Health Organization. And I'd like you all to remember that during COVID-19, our Ministry of Health followed their protocols to a T. One of the protocols that they followed was the lockdown. And what the lockdown did was that when we finally had the Delta variant of COVID-19 hitting Trinidad and Tobago, the most lethal form of COVID-19, our population did not have any inbuilt immunity to COVID-19, and it wreaked havoc on our country, and we lost thousands of lives. The WHO did not assist us in achieving, in getting our vaccines on time. If you would remember the COVAX facility, we lacked many critical drugs during COVID, such as tocilizumab, midazolam, methylpenicillin, and propofol. WHO did not help us with that. So now we are hearing that the US is withdrawing from the WHO, and we have many questions to ask with regards to our COVID-19 management during the pandemic. And Dr. Rowley is on record of saying one of his greatest achievements is his management of COVID-19. So let me tell you what really happened during that time. Many of the policies implemented by the Rowley administration were on the extreme end of the spectrum of what countries were doing around the world. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, we ended up with one of the highest mortality rates in the world, and that is from medical data from Johns Hopkins University. We were almost number one, with 4,500 COVID-19 deaths and a case fatality ratio of 2.3%. We have had over 300 deaths per 100,000 persons in Trinidad and Tobago. We are the 173rd worst performing country out of 195 countries. We are number 22 from the bottom of the list. And we also had the highest death rate in CARICOM. So who do we have to thank for this failure? Some of you may remember during COVID-19, every objection that I made during this time was met with, we are following WHO guidelines. We are following WHO guidelines. While I was pointing out to them that almost every other country in the world, including small economies as us, were not. They were doing what was best for their population. And we, myself, Dr. Bodo, the leader, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, and other members of our team, we were branded as being unpatriotic for standing up to them. But let me assure you, under the leadership of Kamla Prasad Bisesa, we will have a commission of inquiry into every single death during COVID-19. And someone in this Rowley administration will have to account. So one of the things, Dayal Singh, one of the things we can be certain about Terence Dayal Singh is his continued incompetence. On the 8th of January 2025, the Ministry of Health released a statement stating that it was monitoring the spread of HMPV, that's a virus, human metapneumovirus. And Dayal Singh said that while HMPV is here, there were no confirmed cases during this influenza season. And he could not be more wrong. The next day, the St. Augustine Medical Laboratory confirmed that they had a case in November of 2024. That was 2 months ago that this virus was circulating in our population. And I'd like you all to remember that Minister Dayal Singh had a breathing problem roughly 2 weeks ago where he had to be admitted to hospital. Now, one of the symptoms of HMPV could possibly be in severe cases, pneumonia, bronchitis, and asthma. So did Terence Dayal Singh have HMPV? Now, the funny thing is, he himself would not know because the ministry is not doing routine testing for this virus when you attend the hospital. So there's no way to know unless you become severely ill. And it's the same thing that they did during COVID-19. It's the same thing that they did with dengue last year. They are not buying test kits and they are not testing everyone. They don't want you to know the true number of figures of confirmed cases for each one of these viruses. So the Ministry of Health released a statement recently and they said that the public is advised that HMPV is not a notifiable disease in Trinidad and Tobago at this time. That means who gets sick gets sick. They had no reason to tell you. But China is notifying its public. The UK is notifying its public. The US is notifying its public. Just earlier today, I went up on the CDC website, the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention in the United States. And since November of 2024, they have recorded 2% of cases with HMPV. They have recorded 18% positive cases for the flu, 7% positive cases for COVID-19. So the US is warning their population of what is circulating. But we here in Trinidad and Tobago, under Terence Dayal Singh, they are not doing that. Now, why is this important? Most of these infections are mild, but in certain cases, you can develop a bronchitis, you can develop asthma, you can develop pneumonia. And this is particularly so for infants, older adults, persons that may be immunocompromised, and persons with lung conditions, such as myself, I have asthma, and you are higher risk of a severe outcome. And this is particularly so in terms of preparation. We have to prepare our medical, released a statement saying that the influenza vaccine is available and encourage persons to get the vaccine. I'd like to tell the Ministry of Health and Terence Dialsing, there's no vaccine available for HMPV. There's no specifically for the HMPV virus. Treatment focuses on management and educating the population, and most importantly, the vulnerable. So public education, again, is lacking. So currently we have a cocktail of viruses circulating in our population, influenza, COVID, now HMPV, and they had a right to inform the public for social distancing during the Christmas period. And of course, for mask wearing, should we have visited, let's say, our sick grandparents at their house for Christmas. It was the duty of the Minister of Health to inform the population. Dialsing has been consistently incompetent. And we had COVID-19, we had the NICU deaths, we had dengue, we had the mismanagement of building up all these hospitals, and the list goes on and on. And we had a recent Joint Select Committee on social services a couple of weeks ago. And what we learned is that we have had 43,380 cases of cancer between 2023 and 2020, with 90%, 97% of the cases over the age of 25, 49% in men, 51% in women, and 40% between the ages of 60 to 70. Now, this is a very high percentage of cancer in the public. And under Terence Dialsing, cancer patients have been abandoned. The Trinidad Express in March of 2024 said cancer patients must pay privately or die. We had a Joint Select Committee where we were told that patients are getting antiquated drugs, if any at all. And Trinidad Newsday, October of 2024, cancer patients wait in vain for chemotherapy. Mr. Minister, please fix the chemo machine. Trinidad Express, October 2024. Patients not getting chemo on a timely basis. Trinidad Newsday, October 2024. No relief for cancer patients at the St. James Medical Complex on November 2024, Trinidad Express. So to the average SEA student listening, drugs, cancer drugs seem to be the issue. And someone should tell those national award recipients in the Ministry of Health that cancer drugs is what is needed in this country. Kamla Prasad Bisesa will fix it. She will give the doctors what they need. She will make modern oncology drugs available. She will put all cancer clinics on extended hours of operation, and she will conduct an audit on all cancer equipment. But it gets worse, my friends, when we move to CDAP. Roughly 265,000 persons access CDAP in Trinidad and Tobago. But this is the program with the most amount of complaints in the Ministry of Health. It's the most dysfunctional program that we have in the Ministry of Health. In November of 2023, the public healthcare system was slabbed at a JSC meeting. Horrors in healthcare, consistent complaints about drugs. And what my great friend and mentor, Dr. Lakram Bodo, pointed out to me is that every year in every national budget, the line item for the procurement of drugs, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller every year. The highest amount was roughly 600 million during the partnership government, and this has dwindled down to roughly 600 million during the partnership government, and this has dwindled down to roughly 400 million now, currently. So it seems to be that access to procuring drugs on the international market, and I put forward to you that this may be a case because of the lack of foreign exchange. My friends, a Kamla Prasad Bisesa government will fix it. She will update the CDAP listing. She will add superior pharmaceuticals to the list. She will increase the service to rural communities and increase the number of CDAP pharmacies in East, Central, South Trinidad, as well as in Tobago. And before I leave here tonight, I'd just like to tell you how heartless this PNM government is, this Rowley administration, this Terence Dial Singh ministry. The Children Life Fund. Now, this was started by my leader, and this funds children under the age of 18 for tertiary healthcare care that may not be available in Trinidad and Tobago. And what the PNM government is doing, they are using a narrow interpretation of the legislation to limit the number of persons that can access these funds. So persons with conditions such as beta thalassemia major, a blood disorder, they cannot access this fund because they are told this condition is not life-threatening. And these patients need a bone marrow transplant in order to live. And it's not available in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have had a number of cases, Shannon Lou Mitchell, young children that have had to access barbecues, GoFundMe campaigns, and then after they get the funds, they can't get the US now in order to go and do the procedure. That is the indignity sick children have to go through under this PNM administration. We had a recent case of the Boram family needed US $9,000 to do an operation for their 6-month-old child. The baby's under 6 months. And the baby has something called cyanotic congenital heart disease. And the baby must get this surgery before the baby becomes 6 months old. And the Children's Life Fund is only covering transport for one parent. And both the mother and father wants to go to India in order to do this procedure. And I visited this family. The family lives actually in Caroni Central. And we wrote, my office and myself, we wrote to the Indian High Commission to try to get them some relief. And last I heard is that they are getting some relief. They have cases, my friends, of Chloe Ramnarine, $140,000 US in order to get treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma. It took her 2 years to raise the funds. Out of the $140,000 US, the Ministry of Health gave her $10,000 US. And between February 2023, she was at stage 2 of the cancer. Today, January 2025, she's at stage 4. And she's currently in Colombia waiting treatment, and I wish her all the best. But just to let you know where they are wasting money, this government is wasting billions and billions and billions of dollars. COVID-19 was a feeding frenzy. And I assure you, when we come into government, we will audit every single cent that is spent during that time. Every single cent. The cost overruns under Terence Dial Singh's tenure is over $1 billion TT. The Arima Hospital is $450 million over budget. The Point Fortin Hospital is $200 million over budget. The Sandy Grande Hospital is $250 million over budget. The Port of Spain Central Block is not done yet and is already $167 million over budget. They built a car park at the San Fernando General Hospital. They first designed it with eight levels for $118 million. In 2023, they redesigned it for 9 levels at $132 million, right? The Ministry of Health Administration building around the Queen's Park, Savannah, $280 million. They pay the company $13 million a year for 15 years in lease payments. When it's all done, we had to pay that company $480 million, right? But they want to give Chloe Ramnarine $10,000 US to get her surgery. My friends, my leader has decades of experience to address the collapse of our nation. This includes national security, local government, law, public policy, social work, finance, the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Youth Development, education, labor, and the health sector. And I wish to remind you all, the quality of our lives was much, much better under Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Currently, he stands firmly with our leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Keep flying the flag of the United National Congress, and thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sicharan. UNC family, Trinidad and Tobago, you have heard it from our professional doctor within our UNC fraternity. I want all to remember COVID deaths, dengue deaths, NICU deaths. But what Rowley say? Who dead, dead, and who live, live. So 2025, Rowley must go. Stuart Young have to go. And as you would have heard, everything overrun. Everything overrun. PNM is eat a food party. But the 5 Divers family, they know how they put food on the table. Thanks to UNC again. Our next speaker is a strong man of the people. MP Rudranath Indar Singh is the MP for Couva South and shadow for the Minister of Labour. He began his political career in 2002 and in 2010 became the MP for Couva South, serving in various capacities in the Kamla Persad-Bissessar government, the best government of Trinidad and Tobago. He's a passionate advocate for the workers of this country. And I will tell you, he never let that story of the divers go unturned, and we will continue to fight the good fight. Gentlemen, please welcome on stage the MP for Couva South, Rudranath Indar Singh. I call him a man for the people and a man of the people.
Kill you, should make you stronger. So my problems is like steroids, boy. I get my doses from all kinds of sources. I don't know, them still can't kill me now. You see, as them sink me on the ice floe, ride out the storm, them just like a boat. So as the box me down, so I get up, they have to wonder.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Tonight, we are in the great constituency of Couva North, and we are separated by the main road in Couva. So can we send a message to our political leader and all who are looking on that indeed the United National Congress has begun its march to be the next government of Trinidad and Tobago, led by the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. The pavement report is overflowing. We are on the road. We are in our hundreds on the streets of Perseverance Road. And tonight, we are being led on this platform by our deputy political leader, David Lee, and all of my colleagues on this platform here tonight at the parliamentary level. The councillors in the Couva Tabaki Talparo Regional Corporation, led by Chairman Ryan Rampersad, you, the great soldiers of the United National Congress, who has been with this party from day one, can you send a message to our political leader who is looking on that you are ready for political battle on all fronts throughout Trinidad and Tobago to defeat Keith Rowley and the People's National Movement? Tonight I make no apologies for saying that there is a big difference between the PNM and the UNC. A huge difference between Kamla Persad-Bissessar and Dr. Keith Rowley and a fella by the name of Stuart Young. A big difference. And I want to tell you, the most progressive, the most visionary, the most people-centered government in the political history of Trinidad and Tobago was led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar And you will experience that whenever the general elections are called. Tonight, if you have no water in your pipes, whether it is in Calcutta number 1, 2, 3, Macbean, Central Park, and Balmain, just like the rest of Trinidad and Tobago, you must blame Keith Rowley, Stuart Young, and Marvin Gonzalez. If you have a broken healthcare system, which you have heard from Dr. Richard Sicharan, then you must remember that it is Keith Rowley, Stuart Young, and Terence Dialsing that has resulted in a broken healthcare system. Tonight you would have heard the pain and the suffering of our dear sister Vanessa Kusi, and that was experienced by the rest of the families in the Paria tragedy. You must remember, it is Keith Rowley, it is Stuart Young. They have caused the pain and the suffering to the families of the Paria divers. And indeed, you must remember, it is Keith Rowley and Stuart Young that have destroyed the energy sector and resulted in job losses to the tune of thousands of citizens in Couva South and beyond, my brothers and sisters. And indeed, if your rims are being bent and your tires, every time you're dropping a pothole, we have counted them, and there are over 500 plus potholes on the Calcutta number 1, 2 road too. You must, Keith Rowley and Rohan Sinanan and Stuart Young, that has resulted in Trinidad and Tobago now being deemed and termed the pothole country, the pothole capital of the world. Keith Rowley, Rohan Sinanan, and Stuart Young. And that is why our political leader and all will tell you that when Keith Rowley resigns and Stuart Young comes into being the chosen one, the anointed Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, if Rowley gone, Stuart Young must go, and all of them must go whenever the general elections are called. So my brothers and sisters, it will be no difference in the next coming months. So I have no hope and never had any hope in Stuart Young. You must tell me what has been his success story, whether he was the Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs, and I will leave that to my parliamentary colleague, my neighboring MP, Dr. Lee, to deal with tonight. What was the success story of Stuart Young when he was the Minister of National Security? Just like Hines, just like Keith Scotland, it was death after death, and it was blood flowing on the streets of Trinidad and Tobago, blood flowing with water, and that is the legacy of Stuart Young, my brothers and sisters. So tonight I want to tell you that all must go, all of them must go whenever the general elections are called. And this leads me to what we would call experience in leadership. Your political leader, my political leader, has been a former Prime Minister. She is the current leader of the opposition, but she understands geopolitics. She understands global diplomacy and what we would call international relations. So what is wrong in extending a congratulatory message to President Donald J. Trump? What is wrong with that? And tonight you must tell her and let the rest of Trinidad and Tobago know that the rank and file of the United National Congress stands with her in offering our congratulations to Donald Trump. And our political leader was simply expressing the facts as it relates to the tenureship of President Biden, but more importantly, positioning Trinidad and Tobago, because, as I said, she understands that she is the incoming Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and has to position Trinidad and Tobago in the context of geopolitics. Any student of history will tell you about the Monroe Doctrine and the U.S. policy in the Caribbean and Latin America and so on. And it is said that when the U.S. sneezes, everyone catches a cold. And I see that in recent times, that all in the PNM apparently catch their voice or regain their voice, because you know, when they were being questioned by the media outside of Balize House in recent times, everybody either caught laryngitis or did what we would call PIP. They were unable to find their voice. They had no words when they were approached by the media, but all of a sudden, Amory Brong, the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, he has caught his voice and he has regained his voice. And tonight, I want to put everyone on notice in the PNM, whether it is the outgoing, whether it is the incoming, whether it is the members of government, whether it is the Women's League, whether it is the Youth League, and the California Foundation, or the rank and file of the People's National Movement. If you attack our political leader or any of my colleagues in the United National Congress, no one, and I reiterate, no one shall escape unscathed. This is political war, and in political war, we in the UNC, we will take no prisoners, my brothers and sisters. And I want to tell this fella, Amory Brong, as I said, who now seems to be in the dying days of his government. He wants to be a good minister. He now wants to attack the political leader for simply positioning Trinidad and Tobago in the context of her being the opposition leader. And as I said, this fella didn't have a voice. When you must tell us whether a DJ has played his swan song or the final song for him, that he is now in the political cemetery, and whether he has been buried by Keith Rowley and Stuart Young. And indeed, too, tell us, Amory Brong, you want to be a good minister now, but tell us whether you was bullied or forced out by anybody who displayed any tendency of what we would call Wajang, Rottweiler, or a raging bull behavior in terms of who we were warned before. St. Regis, the WPC, who is in charge of the Women's League. You know, when Stuart Young was remanded by representatives for his obscene, his vulgar, his nasty comments in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, the WPC, the entire Women's League, could not find their voices in defense of the women in the Parliament led by the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and they could not call upon Stuart Young to lead an example on behalf, a better example on behalf of the women in Trinidad and Tobago. My brothers and sisters, probably, I don't know if the WPC too busy checking on her financial branch in FCB, and whether she was prepared to condemn the reckless behavior of Stuart Young, and whether it brought any kind of international damage to the reputation of Trinidad and Tobago in terms of an incoming Prime Minister, my brothers and sisters. And up till today, who have found their voices, you know, they cannot tell us how many times and for what reason Amory Brong is the Minister of CARICOM and Foreign Affairs. Every time Stuart Young went to Venezuela, my colleague in the parliament filed a question, Dr. Rudal Munilal. We were told it cost taxpayers over $2+ million. Some one night stay cost $60,000 and $70,000. And indeed, you know, the Minister of CARICOM and Foreign Affairs was never part of any delegation. I think that went to Venezuela. And Amory Brong didn't have his voice to tell the country. But that is what I simply want to tell you here tonight. Leadership is about experience. Leadership is positioning yourself in the context of regional and global diplomacy. And so what is wrong? Tell me what is wrong in extending a congratulatory or sending a congratulatory message to Donald J. Trump as the opposition leader of Trinidad and Tobago, my brothers and sisters. And very quickly tonight, because I do not have much time left, but I want to spend the crime situation and also what is impacting upon the industrial relations or labor landscape of this country. And again, we talk about leadership, we talk about strength, we talk about capacity, we talk about love for the people. You know, Rowley will go down in the political history of this country as the only prime minister to declare a state of emergency and resign. That shows his sense of weakness, the fact that he has abandoned the people in the middle of an assault by law-abiding citizens, by criminals. Criminals are on the rampage. And Cuba, you must tell state of emergency existing now. How many days? 21 days. Do you feel safer? Do you feel safer because of the declaration of a state of emergency? And the headlines, you have a prime minister on the run. I don't know if he's running from Maduro or he's running from Trump or who he's running from in terms of the real reason that fella has resigned, because all of a sudden the fella was dancing. He was part of the conga line. He was whining in Caracas. But today, he is no longer he no longer wants to be the prime minister on the heels of President Trump becoming the president of the United States. I cast no aspersion, but I do not know why he has run and abandoned the office of being the prime minister whenever his resignation comes. And just to tell you, not only law-abiding citizens are under attack, the church is under attack in McBean. In addition to that, the judicial officers, prosecutors are under attack, prison officers are under attack. 3 prison officers' houses have been shut up. This government, after 10 years, cannot offer prison officers and law enforcement officers adequate protection. And also, if I read through the headline very quickly, you will know that people in Cuba are under attack in Specie. Man robbed of a $24,000 gold chain on the Cuba main road. In addition to that, a grandmother who lost her home to fire, robbed by women wearing hijabs, And that was recently in Cuba while she was traveling. And in addition to that, recently a CPEP worker was shot and killed close to the Chase Village flyover. And this evening, on my way to this meeting, 2 persons was killed in Chaguanas. So whether you're in central Trinidad, when you're in northern Trinidad, whether you're in eastern Trinidad, whether you are in southern Trinidad, whether you are in Tobago, no citizen is feeling safer with a state of emergency. And that is why I am telling you, what is the plan, Rowley? What is the plan, Hines? And then you have a fella in the ministry by the name of Keith Scotland. Keith Scotland of Coalpot fame and ride a bicycle to work fame. Keith Scotland telling you to give the police service and the government a passing grade as it relates to fighting crime. What is the plan for the law-abiding citizens when the state of emergency is lifted? Do not come and boast and tell us about, while we are happy if they take guns off the streets, if the murders are reduced and so on. We are very happy for that. But against the backdrop of a state of emergency and where your civil liberties have been trampled upon, we want to know, when the state of emergency is lifted, what is your crime-fighting strategy on behalf of the law-abiding citizens of Trinidad and Tobago? Else we will tell you that we are not impressed about the state of emergency, and tell us, because you have had no crime-fighting plan for the last 9+ years, and in the coming months, do not forget, Stuart Young was part of the National Security Council of Trinidad and Tobago, headed by Dr. Keith Rowley. And that is why I will tell you that the blood will continue to flow on the streets of Trinidad and Tobago unless and until Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the United National Congress is returned to being the government of Trinidad and Tobago. As I quickly seek to wind up, my brothers and sisters, I want to deal with 2 issues very quickly because time is against me. You would have heard from our sister Vanessa Kusi about the deaths and the agony and the pain, the deaths of the Paria divers, the agony and the pain that she suffered, the lack of compassion, the lack of communication, the lack of humanity as it relates to the actions of Dr. Rowley as Prime Minister, as Stuart Young as the Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs. And, well, I have a fellow by the name McClatchy, who is now the outgoing Minister of Labour. That fella is the Minister of Labour is either when me or Wade Mark ask him a question, Tobago. But all of a sudden, that fella, all you must remember in our political history, there's a fella called Hardev Hardat up in Kumoto, somewhere in the late Hardev Hardat, was a member of parliament for the PNM. He was a silent member of parliament, and indeed, McClatchy could be compared to Hardev Hardat. But more importantly, my brothers and sisters here tonight, the work environment under Stuart Young and Dr. Keith Rowley has been turned into a killing fields. Unprecedented and unparalleled deaths in our work environment. It was 4 at Paria. It was at Naikwan, at the successor company to ArcelorMittal. And in addition to the successor company, deaths occurred at Wassa, and in recent times at Kusal, and also at Junior Sami. last night or yesterday at a sanitation company in Tobago. And we must never forget that this country has apparently forgotten about a rig worker by the name of Pete Phillip, a well services employee who disappeared when rig 110 collapsed on the 22nd of December 2024. And so far, for me, it is shades of Paria all over again. Not a word from Siojung. The field is owned by Heritage. Not a word from Siojung. Not a word on the search and recovery plan for the body of Pete Phillip. Not a word on the implementation on the recommendations of the Paria report in terms of improving the health and safety in the work environment. And what do you expect? I do not expect Rowley, I do not expect Stuart Young to be on the side of workers in this country, because I want to quote before I end here tonight from Selwyn Kojo, written an article that he wrote on the 18th of January 2025, and I quote, "They have delivered the remnants of the party into the laps of the rich, thereby creating a plutocracy, a party of the rich, by and for the rich. This is a tectonic shift for a party that the poor people built. It may explain why the leader pushed so hard to place Stuart Young at the head of the PNM government, a classic case of the wealthy governing the poor." Do you expect Stuart Young as the Prime Minister to stand on the side of workers? Do you expect Stuart Young to deliver to the families of the deceased Paria divers? Do you expect Stuart Young to advocate for improved health and safety conditions in the work environment? Do you expect Stuart Young to stand for peace, bread, and justice? Tonight, I want to tell you, before I leave you, it is only Imbert and Rowley who can preside over an imminent collapse of the University of the West Indies. And tonight, I call upon Rowley and Imbert to find the money, because they have found the money for a 47% wage increase for all cabinet ministers. They have found the money for an $87,000 pension for the outgoing Prime Minister and for the anointed one. And if you can find millions of dollars to sustain the pension benefits and the new salary arrangements of all cabinet ministers, I am saying to Dr. Rowley, because if you could find money for a 47% wage increase, we are saying to you, do better than the 4% for the employees of the University of the West Indies. And in addition, my brothers and sisters, they butter the pension, so they increase their salary, they butter the pension, and they don't care how the ordinary citizens and the rank and file of Trinidad and upon them to ensure that the over 20,000 grades of our nation's children in the university campus at St. Augustine is not interfered with and is not compromised. We want to ensure a functioning University of the West Indies. We are about people's development, and the only party and the only Prime Minister who can stand in the gap on behalf of the working class, on behalf of the oppressed, on behalf of the poor, the vulnerable, the single mothers, and bring back an improved standard of living and quality of life in Trinidad and Tobago is Kamla Persad Bissessar and the United National Congress. Long live our political leader. Long live the United National Congress. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for for MP Indar Singh. We are overflowing into the other side of the road. My brothers and sisters, make some noise for our political leader who's tuned in right now. Make some noise for the most caring, the most compassionate, the most amazing Prime Minister that Trinidad and Tobago has ever seen. We're going to vote them out. We're going to vote out Keith Christopher Rowley. We're going to vote out Stuart Young. We're going to vote out Colin Imbert. We're going to vote out Fitzgerald Hines. We're going to... all of them. They're gone. All. They're gone when the election bell rings. My brothers and sisters, I want to welcome the chairman of the United National Congress. Welcome MP Dave Tanku. I want to welcome our sister MP Khadija Amin. Somewhere I saw our DPL Dr. Rudal Munilal and the members of the 5 divers, members of family for the 5 divers of the Paria tragedy. They are here tonight to show support for Mrs. Persad Bissessar. They're here tonight to say that they are on the journey to vote out Keith Rowley and the PNM. My brothers and sisters, it is now time to hear from our home MP. It is now time to hear from the man who has walked the streets of Couva North day in and day night. He served as the party organizer and is now the education officer. He's a former UWI Guild president. He holds a BSc in engineering from UWI and an MBA from Anglia Ruskin University. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our MP. Help me welcome MP Ravi Ratiram.
Thank you for the UNC UTAM. Let's make some noise for Daniel Rashid. Let us also congratulate our co-chair on this evening's pavement report, Councillor Sharon Badal Ahil. Honorable political leader of the opposition, the best Prime Minister and the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamla Persad Bissessar. My colleagues on tonight's platform, members of Parliament, senators, members of the National Executive, local government representatives, members of the Couva North Constituency Executive and all other constituency executive officers with us here tonight, members of the media, and most importantly, you, our UNC family who are out here in your hundreds in this mammoth crowd overflowing onto the roadways. Those of you joining us on the live stream and the various social media platform, welcome to Couva North and welcome to our Couva North edition of the Pavement Report. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. Tonight, as I begin, I start by asking you that do you feel better today than you felt with respect to how this government runs this country 10 years ago? Do you feel safer in your homes today than you felt 10 years ago when the Honorable Kamla Persad Bissessar was our Prime Minister? Are your children getting that to better build their future? Is this the Trinidad and Tobago you dreamed of for yourselves for your children, and for your grandchildren? My brothers and sisters, I ask you, are you better off today than you were 10 years ago? The answer to these questions is a resounding no. My brothers and sisters, today our country is in chaos. Nowhere is safe. Most of us are living behind burglar-proof bars like prisoners in our homes. Our roads infrastructure is the worst it has ever been in the history of this country. And the traffic situation, it is terrible. The simple highway expansion for this village that was supposed to be completed last year, August, it was extended to December, with the two waste-of-time Minister of Works, Rohan and that pink poodle, boasting that it was going to finish by the end of the year. Well, tonight I have to ask them now, it can't be last year, so is it this year or next year? This PNM cannot be trusted, brothers and sisters. And you heard from my colleague, the MP for Caroni East, the health sector is in a mess under this Rowley-led PNM administration. Citizens cannot get basic medication and they have to wait months and sometimes years for life-saving surgeries. Citizens are literally dying for life-saving surgeries. Brothers and sisters, every ministry has collapsed under this Rowley PNM, and every minister has been an abject failure. This Rowley PNM will go down in the history as the worst government this country has ever seen. Brothers and sisters, we now have the newly anointed Miss Leader of the PNM Cabinet, Stuart Young, mamagaing the population about changing the education curriculum and focusing on youths. But this is the same Stuart Young who was the Minister of Energy, who did absolutely nothing to rescue, to save those barrier divers that Sister Vanessa Kusi spoke about. This is the same Stuart Young who was Minister of National Security, who did absolutely nothing, my brothers and sisters, when those 7 fishermen from right here in Cali Bay, Orange Valley, Perseverance went missing out at sea due to piracy. 5 of them murdered, 2 never to be found. That is the same failed Stuart Young. Brothers and sisters, thousands of lives were lost due to murder during his time as Minister of National Insecurity. And today he wants to claim to be the savior of Trinidad and Tobago by promising to do more for education. Is Stuart Young admitting that the PNM government, of which he is not only part of, but elected as Prime Minister, but acted as Prime Minister on several occasions, failed on every sector. He failed our education sector and the youths, my brothers and sisters, during those times. How can he be so bold-faced to stand before our students and speak about improving education sector and focusing on youths, when he sat as part of the PNM Rowley-led cabinet for almost 10 years and said nothing? He did absolutely nothing to secure the future and education of the young people of Trinidad and Tobago. For almost a decade, our children were never the focus. Rather, he and his leader saw it more beneficial and important to them to jump on a plane every Monday morning to visit his bestie Maduro and the other friends in Venezuela. That is why he couldn't visit the families here in Perseverance when those fishermen were murdered out at sea, because he was jumping on plane visiting his bestie in Venezuela. How can this Stuart Young now talk about these grand plans for education and youth when he have observed almost 10 years as a minister of government and he has failed on every account, my brothers and sisters? Brothers and sisters, Stuart talk now about his grand plans for education and youths when we have observed for almost 10 years the following failures, which are now a stark contradiction of his promises. One, the lack of action during the current tenure with no tangible changes in the curriculum or youth development. Brothers and sisters, despite being in power for almost 10 years, the PNM has failed to update the education curriculum to meet the modern workforce demand. Yet Stuart Young's recent promises are just another empty political ploy to hoodwink our population. Two, unfulfilled promise to the youths and the failure to address youth unemployment. Youth unemployment remains high with no sustainable job development or real-world skills development initiative, brothers and sisters. Unemployment is something affecting thousands and thousands of our young people graduating, coming out with a good background, with a good educational development, with good technical vocational skills, yet they cannot find jobs in our society today, brothers and sisters. However, we must never forget that during the period of 2010 to 2015, it was our leader as Prime Minister, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who created over 60,000 sustainable jobs in this country. My brothers and sisters, item 3 is the inadequate investment in youth and in education. The PNM has underfunded the education sector, leaving schools and tertiary institutions without proper resources. When we look at the dilapidated condition that these schools are in, when we look at what is happening with the computer labs in these schools, with the technology, with the IT department, where the equipment are outdated, my brothers and sisters, we must never forget it was Kamla Prasad Bisesa who invested in our children by providing all those who are graduating from SCA and entering secondary schools with a laptop, my brothers and sisters. That is a leader who has vision and who see value in investing into the technological development of the youths of Trinidad and Tobago. And as we move on to item 4, which is the neglect of the digital literacy, the PNM mishandling of the shift to online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. This has left many students without devices or internet access, forcing them out of school. You all remember that? When children had to be attending online school. It is this wicked, uncaring Keith Rowley administration who shut down the laptop program. And it was because of that that children did not have devices, that they could not access online learning. This is how wicked and uncaring this PNM administration has been. When we look at item 5, the PNM disconnect with youth needs. Issues like youth crime, the lack of affordable higher education, and limited career opportunities remain unaddressed. This is another factor affecting the education system in this country, brought about by the mismanagement of this Keith Rowley Young Imbert administration. My brothers and sisters, when we went through the allocation and the funding for these youth programs, we see almost every single youth program has been underfunded and has received financial cut by this. They have cut things like OJT, they have cut things like YTEP, they have cut MOS, they have cut HYPE, they have cut the GATE program. And when we look at the number of people that were benefiting from these programs, we see the number of beneficiaries declining year by year by year. But I want to salute our deputy political leader who is here with us tonight, the former chairman of MIC, Dr. David Lee, that in 2015, together with late Fazal Karim and others, Dr. Tim Gopi Singh, we had over 3,200 youths graduating from these programs. Now this figure has fallen significantly under the mismanagement of this PNM administration. Brothers and sisters, when we look at the missed opportunities and the limited impact in the current leadership role, Stuart Young had multiple opportunities to make meaningful changes as a minister and as acting prime minister, but he failed miserably to deliver. My brothers and sisters, Stuart Young's statement about changing the curriculum and focusing on youth, it lacks clear, actionable details. How will this curriculum be reformed? What specific policies will be put in place to ensure that youth are equipped with the relevant skills? Without a clear roadmap and dedicated resources, these promises are nothing more than vague election rhetoric designed to mislead the electorate rather than a genuine plan for change. But our citizens, you, my brothers and sisters, you are much smarter than what Stuart Young and the PNM think and will never be fooled. You will not PNM to fool us. We have seen through his lies and his manipulation. Stuart Young told us to stand by, and at the right time, we will hear his plans for the youths and the citizens. Remember, he said to stand by and hold on till 2027 when the Dragon gas is going to flow. And what is going to happen with that project now? The only dragon we know is the dragon for Pointe-à-Pierre, Claxton Bay, the dragon Dr. David Lee. When will the right time be, Stuart? The country has been standing by for the past 10 years. The country has been suffering for the past 10 years, waiting for these plans, but nothing. But here, you are, as the anointed misleader of the PNM cabinet, making additional promises that will never materialize. And I want to welcome our next deputy political leader, Dr. Rudal Munilal, who is here with us tonight. And if Dr. Munilal was here, he would have put some blows on Rohan for the 1,000 potholes we hear about from MP Rudranath Indar Singh. He would have put some blows on Rohan Sinanan for failing to repair the cable barriers along the highway, where hundreds of persons would have found themselves in very unfortunate, and he would have put some blows on Rohan and others for the total incompetence that we are seeing from this government. Same unreliable PNM party making these promises about adjusting the curriculum, just a different face, telling the same lies, brothers and sisters. Our citizens will not fall for this kind of manipulation again. Instead of using the last 10 years planning on how you can secure the future and the education for our children, what we saw happen was Rowley and Stuart use their time in government planning how they can secure an $87,000 pension coming from taxpayers' money so that they can enjoy it as Prime Minister for the rest of their life. That is what they did, my brothers and sisters. Rowley as Prime Minister has not seen it fit to secure the future of our country. His prime focus and priority was securing the financial future of not only himself, but also his mini-me, Stuart Young. He little mini-me. So both Stuart and Rowley, after wreaking havoc and destruction on this country, will skip off into retirement, clutching their purses filled with $87,000 per month, while the rest of citizens wonder where the next meal is going to come from for their families. Whilst the rest of us live in fear, afraid of our loved ones, because we are not sure if we will be the next statistic of home invasion or the next gruesome murder. And while these things happen, brothers and sisters, we do not even hear a word of compassion, a word of condolence from this Rowley-led administration. Right next door in Lisa's Gardens, one of our Sister Amina Mohammed, may her soul rest in peace and may God bless her family. She was brutally murdered, receiving 4 stab wounds with her own kitchen knife, and not a word of condolence from the PNM Women's Arm. Where was the PNM Women League when Sister Amina Mohammed was murdered? And being now tell you like they get pip. They lost their voice. Our people deserve better than this. We must demand that respect and show this PNM that their time for disrespecting us is over. And as soon as that election bell is rung, my brothers and sisters, we are going to reject their disrespect. We are going to reject their mismanagement. We are going to reject their incompetence and reject the failures of every single PNM cabinet minister. And with our voting finger, we must give them the punishment that they all deserve. Every one of them, all must go. We must fire this PNM government and return Trinidad and Tobago on that path of progress government under the leadership of the best prime minister this country has ever had, our leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad Bissessa. My brothers and sisters, in winding up, I want to swiftly touch on some issues affecting the agriculture sector. As I have always said, the agriculture sector is not only confined to farmers and fisherfolk. All of us are involved in and are affected by this sector. It is a sector that has been destroyed by this PNM government. While they facilitate a food import bill of $7.3 billion, while persons cannot find US to go on a little trip, their friends, families, and financiers are allowed to import up to $7.3 billion. Why it is we have things like tomatoes and baigan and bodi and these things. Why it is we have tomatoes being imported into this country when our farmers can produce it right here, but they have designed it in such a way to facilitate the importation of these goods for their friends, families, and financiers, brothers and sisters. We all feel the effect of the destruction of the agriculture sector. We all notice that our grocery and market bills have been drastically on the rise. And what has been the response of this PNM government with respect to a rising price of food? They tell us that we're not good enough to eat macaroni pie and ham. While they eat ham, lamb, and jam, and some of them whining away with their budget from 1 million to 50 million increase for entertainment, while they're whining away, fretting away with a lifetime month and $1,000 funded by you, the taxpayers. My brothers and sisters, just today I received call from the president of the Jerningham Farmers Association highlighting the challenges of those farmers having been facing with the giant African snail invasion. This is something that is not only affecting farming communities, but citizens across this country who wants to have their own little backyard garden. These giant African snails is affecting everyone. We all know that it is out of control, and this government has clearly lost the battle. The snail eradication program has been abandoned, and they have given up on this pest. Imagine citizens are now turning to eating the snails. That is what is happening in this country, brothers and sisters. We see no plan from this government. It's ravishing farming communities and not to mention the health risk associated with this giant African snail. Brothers and sisters, flooding remains one of the biggest issues destroying our agriculture sector. Year after year, promises are made, but no meaningful flood mitigation measures have been implemented. You saw in the parliament, I asked the Minister of Agriculture, and that incompetent minister in the ministry came and talked about, if I know my constituency, I will see the rivers being clean. Well, we visited the constituency and they are not cleaning the water course all the way out to the Gulf. This is causing serious problems to our farmers, brothers and sisters, because where Couva North is, it is the westmost constituency in the central, and the rivers from neighboring constituencies on the east, all these water come down, flooding out our farmers here in Couva North, brothers and sisters. They have failed to address these issues, causing livelihoods to be destroyed and causing food prices to skyrocket. Brothers and sisters, under the leadership of the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, flood management project will not just be talked about, it will be done, my brothers and sisters. We were referred to as the box drain government. You all remember that? Well, that is a badge of honor that we wear proud, brothers and sisters. Under our leader, we saw development of water courses and we saw box drains being built across the length and breadth of this country. When last I see the government building a box drain in our community? And that is the stark reality. When you talk about grants for the farmers, brothers and sisters, you could ask any farmer, they will tell you applying for an agricultural grant is like trying to find water in the desert. Brothers and sisters, farmers are frustrated. They are struggling and they are being ignored. These are the people who put food on our table, and this government is treating them like beggars. So my brothers and sisters, we have witnessed regularly the most outrageous insults to our hardworking farmers. Crops are being bulldozed and destroyed on the directive of state bodies. What kind of government, I must ask, what kind of government punishes its people, bulldozes its crops when they are trying to feed the nation? This madness will never happen under the UNC and the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. We will stand with our farmers, not against them. But let us not stop there, my brothers and sisters. It's between the PNM failure in agriculture and their failure in crime. You see, when people cannot farm, when there are no jobs, and when communities are neglected, what happens? Crime rises. Poverty fuels desperation. And the PNM's so-called crime plans have been nothing but talks. They impose a state of emergency that has accomplished absolutely nothing. No sort of meaningful reduction in crime. No sense of security, no plans, no citizen is feeling safer today. The UNC, my brothers and sisters, stands together with you. We stand up for the farmers and we stand for your food security. My brothers and sisters, I know you are tired of the excuses. You are tired of the broken promises. You are tired of suffering. But let me assure you, when the UNC wins, everybody wins. When Kamla Persad-Bissessar wins, Trinidad and Tobago wins. So to the farmers, to the young people, to every citizen who feels forgotten, I say this, hold on, help is on the way. The UNC will fix it, and together we will build a better Trinidad and Tobago for all the citizens. Let's rise up with our voting finger whenever that election is called. We must elect a UNC government led by the most visionary, caring, and compassionate leader our country has ever seen. Our leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I thank you, my brothers and sisters.
Thank you very much. The host MP for tonight, MP Ravi Raturam. To my honorable political leader, the energy levels are high in Couva North. We are on the pavement and the crowd is overflowing. Those of you who haven't registered, the registration is still open. Get by the tables and register. You have heard it. Nothing has been working under this waste of time PNM government. Healthcare, agriculture, education, local government, everything has collapsed. You know what I want to tell all you? We have always been under SOE. It's suffering others every day under this PNM. Suffering others every day under this PNM government. It is my pleasure to introduce the MP for Pointe-à-Pierre, my neighbor, the MP, David Lee. David Lee is the dynamic MP for Pointe-à-Pierre and the opposition chief whip in the House of Representatives. We just keep them in check. Prior to his career in politics, David Lee worked at the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago and then as CEO of the large international shipping conglomerate, among other things. A self-made, successful businessman and fighter for the UNC. Help me welcome to Couva North platform, the Honorable Deputy David Lee.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you, Charles.
Because what don't kill you should make you
stronger. Thank you. Good night. Sitaram, good night. This crowd is overflowing in Cali Bay. I think this number beat back Deputy Political Leader Lion, Dr. Munilal meeting in Penal. It just, I think it even with Soledad in Pointe-à-Pierre when we had our pavement report last year. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say good night to the political leader and my colleagues who would have spoken here tonight. All fantastic speakers. Can we give them a round of applause? From Councillor Vanessa Kusi right up to our host MP here tonight, MP Ravi Ratyaram for Couva North. It is flowing. The police is having a hard time keeping the people in check here under a state of emergency. But we have a lawyer like Dr. Munilal in the house. So we want to recognize my sister Khadija here tonight, the MP for St. Augustine. Can we give her a round of applause? Around all night so you can't miss her here tonight. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I know my leader is listening and locked on. Tonight, you have rallied in your hundreds here in Cali Bay to support Team UNC on this pavement report. Team UNC continues to pull large numbers of supporters as we visit every community across Trinidad and Tobago as the people of this nation are desperate to end the decade of destruction and decimation by this PNM government. The people of our nation are rallying behind Team UNC because they know that the UNC is the last and only option to save us here in our beautiful island. To Toko Sandy Grande, Wayne Sturge, from San Fernando with Dr. Dowla to Arima, and throughout this nation, the momentum with the UNC is everywhere we go, the UNC. What we say here tonight, the UNC wins, everybody wins here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. 2025 must be the year that we break the PNM decade of destruction by rejecting the PNM in any form or fashion. We must reject the old and the young PNM because it is the same PNM that has regarded and neglected you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, for the past 10 years. Do not be fooled and do not be misled by the attempts to rebrand Stuart Young and the PNM as this new, diverse and driven political party. It is the same old cabinet and ministers who have abandoned you for the past 10 years. This is not any new PNM. When you have the very same Faris Alwari who has failed to deliver a single item of local government reform. Don't forget Faris Alwari was a failed Attorney General and was fired. Don't forget Faris was Stuart Young's boss from 2015 until about 2017. This is not any new PNM. When you have the same Dayal Singh as Dr. Rishi Sicharan told you, and Marvin Gonzalez, who have failed to provide proper health care and Marvin Gonzalez water for us. And we in Pointe-a-Pierre suffer, especially in the Soledad area. This is not any new PNM. When you have the very same Dr. Gatsby Dolly, the Minister of Education, who has yet to deliver any tangible change in our education system. Trinidad and Tobago, it is time you wake up and understand that what they have failed to do for you in the country in 10 years, they will not do it for you in the coming weeks or months. In 10 years, over 60,000 citizens have lost jobs. While Stuart Young and his team were in the cabinet, you think they will create any new jobs? In 10 years, while Stuart Young and the same very crew sat in the cabinet, your national road infrastructure collapsed to be the most dilapidated in our history. You heard that from MP Indar Singh. You think that anything will be different under Stuart Young? In 10 years, while Stuart Young and the same PNM group that has been reselected managed your affairs in the cabinet, fuel prices went up 7 times. Property tax was implemented under Stuart Young, and food prices skyrocketed every time you go in the supermarket. Do you think that they will deliver anything different under Stuart Young? Trinidad and Tobago, in 10 years, Stuart Young and this PNM team took away Trinidad and Tobago, the hotel school in Chaguaramas. They closed it down, just like the Petrotrin refinery. They reduced gate for our young men and women. They gutted the tech work programs that MP Ravi Ratnam spoke about. They didn't build a single school. Do you really think they have your children's interests at heart? Stuart Young and this exact same cabinet, who have been returned by the PNM Screening Committee, sat by idly for a decade while flooding became an annual crisis. You ever saw Stuart Young in floods in Trinidad and Tobago? You ever saw Rowley? But we saw the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. We saw Dr. Munilal. We saw our sister Khadija Amin in Bambus with the people. We saw our colleague Rishi Sitaran in Caroni East. We see our MPs. You have never seen Stuart Young, Marvin Gonzalez, Rowley in any floods in our country in Trinidad and Tobago. This is not a new PNM, but it's the same group of politically expired individuals who have absolutely no plan or purpose for you, the people of this nation. But the most politically deceptive, politically defective, and nationally ineffective individual out of the entire team is the man seeking to be your Prime Minister, Stuart Young. Stuart Young has the most defining record of failures, Dr. Mulial says it, and catastrophe out of all the cabinet ministers in this country, coupled with a lack of compassion for our citizens, and you heard it from our councillor Vanessa Kusi. It was Stuart Young, as Minister of National Security, who locked out thousands of our families outside the border during COVID. Don't forget that. While foreign countries like Barbados and United Kingdom Parliament were forced to highlight the suffering of those locked out of our people, Young did not budge. Yet he allowed his heavily sanctioned friend, Delcy Rodriguez, Vice President of Venezuela, to enter our country. It is that man who they want you to lead Trinidad and Tobago. And I want to ask you all here tonight, I want to remind you all of something. There was a Sunday editorial express about Stuart Young. The date of that editorial express was the 16th of May, 2020. The person who exposed that visit when we were locked down during COVID, and when Delcy Rodriguez came on a sanctioned plane, snuck in here by Stuart Young and Prime Minister Rowley in our country in March 2020, when we were locked down, right? When we were locked down. And it's the person who exposed that in the parliament was none other than your political leader, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. She keeps exposing the underhandedness of this government. And I just want to read one paragraph. This is a Sunday Express editorial in 16th of May 2020. Nowhere at that time you ever thought Stuart Young would have been considered to be Prime Minister by Rowley. Let me read the first paragraph. This is not David Lee writing this, or Dr. Munilal, or the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa. If we accept the words, and I quote, of the National Security Minister Stuart Young, that he was not aware of the composition of the delegation or the aircraft which landed from Venezuela for a meeting with the Prime Minister on March 27th, then we must conclude that Minister Young is guilty of a level of negligence that is dangerous to the well-being of Trinidad and Tobago. These are not my words or Dr. Munilal words. This is an editorial in the Sunday Express. Let me read again. Minister Young is guilty of a level of negligence that is dangerous to the well-being of Trinidad and Tobago. As an experienced attorney, and I go on, who would know that ignorance is no excuse? Minister Young should now do the honorable thing and resign for the incompetence that he has shown to the country. He has thrown the country onto the warpath between United States and Venezuela, thereby placing the nation's security at risk. Should he refuse to resign, the Prime Minister Rowley must hold Minister Young to account for the fiasco by firing him from the cabinet. What did Rowley do? Rowley promoted him and to Prime Minister. This was on the 21st of March 2020 that Stuart Young did this. Would you allow Stuart Young to run your country, ladies and gentlemen, here in Cali Bay? I ask you that. We must never allow that. Never allow that. It was Young, as I said, locked out. Where was Young in the Paria catastrophe when the families of our 4 brothers needed his support and intervention? Young, as the line minister, could have recommended to the cabinet that these families be assisted without going to the Commission of Inquiry. Young, as a line minister, could have recommended to the cabinet that government adhere to the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry and make an ex gratia payment to the families without the government taking liability. Young did nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Is that the Prime Minister you want? You heard the heart and the pain from Vanessa Kusi. Stuart Young is a man whose words could never be taken at face value. In 2016, he said he renegotiated some contract that we, the PP government, did, and a Japanese investor. And to date, he's blaming, NGC had these losses in 2023. He said he renegotiated the contract. He and Prime Minister Rowley boasted that Stuart Young saved billions of dollars for this country. And in 2023, we see billions being lost by NGC. Is that the man you want to run this country? Young is all talk without walk. On CNN, I sure Dr. Munilal will remember that, on CNN, that he was ramping up gas production to supply Europe. You hear that? The man went and paid a reporter on CNN to interview him. And he told the world that he ramping up gas production to supply Europe. 2 years later, Stuart Young cannot even supply gas to the companies in Point Lisas right here in Cuba South and North. Is that the Prime Minister you want to deliver for Trinidad and Tobago? We can't allow that. Tonight I want to send a message to all of those who have been fooled into thinking Young is this pillar of innovation and brilliance. I met a 1%er in Port of Spain. They say, Stuart, brighter? I say, how he bright? How you arrive at that? Well, he's talk nice. He speak well. But I say Dr. Munilal speak well. There's nobody better than speaking than Dr. Munilal in the parliament. After the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa. Right? So we have 2 brilliant speakers on our side. And they say, well, he bright because he speaks well. So I say he brighter than Rowley, because Rowley don't speak well then. Right? He couldn't answer me. In 2021, this country gave Stuart Young one of the most important jobs, to become the Minister of Energy, with the sole responsibility of preserving and growing the backbone of this country, our nation, energy sector. But what did Stuart Young do? In 3 short years, Stuart Young has taken this country back to the 1950s. Stuart Young has delivered the lowest oil production in our history since 1950. Stuart Young has delivered some of the most unattractive deep water bids in our history. Stuart Young has presided over the most plant closures in Point Lisas in our history. Young has made Point Lisas and Galeota ghost towns. Is that to run this country? Could never be. Young had one job to do. He had one job in the energy and failed. Do you believe he could manage an entire cabinet with Imbert to run this country? This week we heard President Trump call something drill, baby, drill. Right? You know all that famous thing. I have the flyer here. It says drill, baby, drill. Right? Where President Trump is now going to ramp up oil production and drilling to find oil and gas in his country as the president of USA. So there it is. Drill, baby, drill. Trump says, drill, baby, drill. You know what Stuart Young and Rowley has been saying for the last 10 years? Maduro, baby, Maduro. Maduro, baby, Maduro. While Trump saying, drill, baby, drill, Rowley and Stuart Young saying, Maduro, baby, Maduro. And a set of conga line dancing. And then Stuart Young for the last 10 years with Franklin Can is no drill, baby, no drill. And that is why we are suffering for our revenues in our country. That is why we are suffering for our foreign exchange in our country. Because Stuart Young and Rowley has neglected our own territorial waters to find oil and gas, and we have an abundance of it in our territorial waters. But they want to go and play with baby Maduro. I don't know what goes on there. You heard Dr. Munilal file a question, and there's a set of traveling by Stuart Young back and forth to Venezuela. I don't know if you have a señorita in Venezuela. I don't know. Dr. Munilal might have to file a question like that if there are señorita that the young man is going over there for. All these OFAC deals, you know, Stuart Young like to come and say they have license with Venezuela. All these OFAC deals, all of these licenses and grants from Maduro that Young has been boasting about is worth nothing when the plants right here in Trinidad and Tobago has no glass. Geopolitics and the opposition has been telling this government, do not put all your eggs in that basket with Maduro, because when the geopolitics explode, which it might happen under President Trump, we, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, will suffer in our country, because for the last 10 years, when the opposition, the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, when myself, when Dr. Munilal Indar Singh was telling this government, do not play the fool with Venezuela and suffer our people, they didn't take us on. They say they are the only experts about energy. And they keep telling us in 2027, a boom is coming. I want to tell them, do you know the boom coming for them? Is President Trump. President Trump is the boom that coming for them, ladies and gentlemen. And they need to stop playing this geopolitics with Maduro, ladies and gentlemen, at the detriment of our people. You remember when Stuart Young sent home and shut down Petrotrin? That was Stuart Young and Rowley did that. Now you're hearing all of a sudden, you know when election coming up, when Stuart Young and Rowley start to talk about the sale of the refinery. Anytime you hear the sale of the refinery by Stuart Young and Rowley, you know election is close. They did it in 2020 and they fooled OWTU. They fooled the country and they told the country that they will make businessmen out of OWTU because they will get the refinery. That is only answered by Colin Imbert, the Minister of Finance. And yet to the day, since the closure of Petrotrin Refinery in November 2018, and it is left to ruins and scrap iron, we have not heard anything. But all of a sudden, a couple weeks ago, you hear Stuart Young talking about they have 3 final buyers and they have to go through the process and so forth. You know election in the year and they are coming to fool the people of Trinidad and Tobago once again, ladies and gentlemen, and we must not allow that. We must not allow that. I want to say a little bit thing on Trinidad and Tobago and you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And I think on my left shoulder, you might see, I know you all wouldn't see it, but it says it's our logo here. When UNC wins, everybody wins, right? Trinidad and Tobago, the leader of the opposition has said, when the UNC wins, everyone wins. That is a fact. When the UNC wins, every citizen and every community wins, my brothers and sisters. When the UNC wins, the economy wins, as we saw in 2010 to 2015, when this country recorded the highest foreign direct investments under Kamla Persad-Bissessar, which in turn delivered over 60,000 jobs for you. When the UNC wins, workers win. And as we saw in 2010 to 2015, with over 130 wage negotiations that were settled, and we will do it again. When the UNC wins, your children win, as we saw between 2010 to 2015, with over 100 new schools, a Debe Law campus as this wicked PNM doesn't want to open it. We increased gate funding, a drilling academy, and an aviation academy right here in Camden. When the UNC wins, you win against the cost of living, as the UNC removed VAT on 7,000 food items and did not introduce a single new tax. When the UNC wins, you win with public utilities, as we saw in 2010 to 2015, as over 70% of the population were given a 24-hour supply of water. When the UNC wins, you win with better health care, such as the construction of the Children's Hospital right here in Cuba, the Children's Life Fund, and the health centers opening over 24 hours. When the UNC wins, you win with your safety, such as the Community Safety Patrol or our future plans to implement stand your ground legislation and make legal firearms more accessible to registered licensed individuals. When the UNC wins, here is one, you win. You know why? Because you have the only leader in the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar who is fearless, determined, and experienced. In the last few days, we have seen the continued demonstration of a leader who has the tenacity to change our nation. Tonight, I stand by statements of the leader of the opposition in her message to President Trump. Tonight, I ask all the armchair politicians and double-standard commentators who are calling out the leader's comment due to concern for future relations with the United States. Where was your concern when Rowley was talking about Trump? You remember that? Today, some of you have a problem because Kamala spoke about Biden, who will not return. Biden not coming back. But where was your concern when the PNM parliamentary bench and said to us in the opposition, what Trump could do we? Remember that, Dr. Munilal? When they stand up there and say, what Trump could do we? Trump was the president then. Where was your concern in January 2024 when Rowley called his St. Lucian opposition leader Tropical Trump? You had no concern then, which is even more worrying since Donald Trump has returned to the White House less than 1 year later. Today, Trinidad and Tobago, I want to ask you to understand why Kamala was forced to make these comments. She was standing up for you because this government has weakened the relationship with this incoming Trump administration. This government's political romance with the Democrats caucus, their love affair with Maduro, and poor comments against Trump means that without the strong action by your leader of the opposition, we may be in the bad books. Imagine this government awarded the outgoing U.S. ambassador one of the highest awards. They must tell us why, because many of our past ambassadors have delivered yeoman diplomatic service to this nation. Some ambassadors have delivered COVID vaccines, others delivered scholarships, and some delivered funding for impoverished areas, and they never got a single award. So they must come and tell us why. The US ambassador, the outgoing one, got one. We want to know. We just asked a question. If it is this government who has made a politically biased and tarnished foreign policy, which a leader of the opposition has attempted to reverse, Trinidad and Tobago, we need strong, fearless leadership to the end the turmoil facing our nation. That fearless leader is Kamla Persad-Bissessar. As leader of the opposition, when the PNM has abandoned you, she was in the floodwaters with you and also holding town hall meetings. As leader, we must have, so many have attacked her. Let me repeat that. As leader, so many have attacked our political leader. So many have berated her. But unlike Rowley, who has raised his pension and his salary and left you running, she is still fighting for you because she believes in a better nation for you. So all I say to us here tonight in Cali Bay, let us stand with Kamla Persad-Bissessar, because when the UNC wins, everybody in this country wins. I thank you. Reach home safe. Long live the great party, United National Congress. Long live our parliamentary colleagues, and long live our Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who will be the next Prime Minister of this country whenever election is called. I thank you and good night.
Do you know that in 2016, 66 liters of diesel cost $100? Today, under the PNM, you get 20 liters of diesel for $100. The diesel you paid $100 for under the UNC now costs $327 under the PNM, which directly affects the cost of food, transport, and services. Guess who I'm voting for next time?
Welcome to the Trinidad and Tobago Opposition's media briefing this Sunday, the 19th of January 2025, discussing crime and the criminal justice system. Today, Mr. Wayne Sturge, Attorney at Law and the UNC candidate for Toco Sangre Grande, and MP Saddam Hussein, the shadow for the Attorney General and Legal Affairs, will be presenting. Thank you for joining us. We will begin our broadcast shortly. In the meanwhile, please share the live.
So the Minister of Finance is killing us with tax. We are like prisoners in our own home. We are under attack. Come on, people. Sing it with me. Sing it out.
Tell them we fed up. Had them back alive. We fed up. Cause them is wolf in disguise. Fed up. Had them playing games. So we not voting them again. We fed up. Hope you understand. We fed up. PNM never had a plan. We fed up. Had they using we. So we voting for the UNC. The claim say they love we. The claim say they care. The claim say, they don't have a clue what to do, but put taxes on me and you take back the
the food cart and they see things hard. The way we live like dog in the yard. So why they moving so? I really don't know. Them don't like the poor people in the ghetto. This is what I want you to know. Tell them we fed up, have them back alive. Cause them is wolf in disguise. And they playing games, so we not voting them again. Hope you understand. B&M never had a plan. And they using weed, so we voting for the UNC. The claim say they love we. The claim say they care. The claim say. We was red and ready, now listen to me. Like the one telling we red and hungry. I hope all they see what they're doing to me. And they say they care about we. We can't take it no more, this is for sure. It's time for the policy to go. Because the people don't want you anymore. Tell them we fed up, have them back alive. Cause them is wolf in disguise. And they're playing games, so we not voting them again. Hope you understand. B&M never had a plan. And they're using weed, so we voting for the UNC. The claim say they love we. The claim say they care. The claim say. Tell them we fed up. Yeah, the people crying. Why the crime rate so high? Food prices gone up. The people why you know we fed up on that. We fed up. So let's talk about now. How the baby grant and food grant gone. Yeah, you talk about the past. The people why you know we fed up on that. Let's talk about now. Let's don't talk about the past. Let's speak about now.
Do you know that in 2016, 66 liters of diesel cost $100? Today, under the P&M, you get 20 liters of diesel for $100. The diesel you paid $100 for under the UNC now costs $327 under the P&M, which directly affects the cost of food, transport, and services. Guess who I'm voting for next time?
Good morning, members of the media, those who are viewing us live on all our social media platforms. We welcome you to the first opposition press briefing for the year 2025. I am joined this morning by Mr. Wayne Sturge. Mr. Wayne Sturge is the prospective candidate for the United National Congress for the constituency of Toko Sangre Grande. And Mr. Sturge is no stranger to the political and legal landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. This year he will be celebrating his 27th year at the bar, prominent defense counsel in the criminal courts, and also he served as a former opposition senator in the 11th Parliament. This morning, myself and Mr. Sturge will address you members of the media and those who are listening to us live on very critical matters in relation to national security and in particular the criminal justice system. This morning I will address you on two very topical issues, one being the ongoing state of emergency and the second is with respect to the disposal, the leasing and or sale of the Petrotrin refinery under the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act. So I'll start my presentation this morning in terms of raising certain issues with respect to the state of emergency that was declared by this P&M government on the 30th of December 2024 and has been continued for a period of 3 months when the Parliament met last Monday. A state of emergency was declared on the 30th of December, and since then we have seen no real tangible evidence or successes of the state of emergency. In fact, when we went to the Parliament to debate the extension, the government could not provide any cogent, compelling evidence to suggest that the state of emergency was in fact working, and it would have been in effect for around 15 days when we debated the extension. On the morning of that debate, 34-year-old Onella Parks was gunned down in Belmont on her way to work. Last night, it is now being reported that there was a double murder in Belmont, a 19-year-old and a 53-year-old, and they were recorded as murders number 16 and 17 for the year.
We have
will
had
also
within
remember
recent times
the gruesome killing
states of emergency
for one of my colleagues and her husband, the attorney at law, Mrs. Kumari Baksh, and her husband, Nasheed Baksh. On All Year's night, after the state of emergency was declared, there was the assassination of a former prosecutor, Randall Hector. And under the emergency powers regulation, I don't believe any person was charged in connection for any of these
we have had within recent
In fact, I
times.
haven't seen any media release coming out from the police service indicating that any perpetrators or any suspects were detained or charged in relation to any of these 17 murders, the state of emergency having been declared. Under the regulations, the Minister of National Security has the power in order to issue detention orders. So we are now over 15 days, nearing probably 20 days of the state of emergency. And Minister Hines has only made one detention order that was published via legal notice. One detention order. The police may have been detaining through the powers given to them under the regulations, but under the minister's power, one person a detention order was issued for. And we have argued from the opposition's perspective that there was no proper plan for this state of emergency. In fact, Stuart Young, who was the acting Attorney General of the day, indicated to the country, I believe it was around 9 or 10 a.m. on the 30th of December, that there's a state of emergency, and we did not see the regulations until about 10 p.m. that night. But what we were told in the Parliament was something even more strange. The night in which the state of emergency was probably decided was the same night that the Prime Minister was holding a party at his Tobago's residence. We were then told by Stuart Young that around 1:07 a.m. of that morning, the President was informed that there are grounds to declare a state of public emergency. So while they were fetting, they were deciding on a state of emergency. Stuart Young tells the Parliament that 1:07 a.m. that morning, the President was made aware. And 19 hours later, after you tipped off all the criminals, they brought the regulations. So within that period, the police had no idea